The reason that I got involved in the Rich Earth Institute really was Kim. That she asked me if I'd be interested in being on the board, and I didn't even know what she was talking about, but I said sure, just because I love Kim and I really appreciate working with her. And since then, I've been really happy to be involved with the Rich Earth Institute. My focus has been much more on water, clean water for the future of the world, than the fertilizer aspect of urine collection and how we use it. In Brattleboro, well, for some context, Brattleboro has a population of about 12,000 people. Windham County, which is the county that we're in Vermont, southeastern Vermont, has about 43,000 people. Vermont itself is only 623,000 people, I think, right now. So we're a relatively small state in the United States. In Brattleboro, over our, I think, 8 years, Kim, something like that, we have collected 46,000, 9 years, thank you, 46,075 gallons of urine, mostly in Brattleboro, but in the surrounding towns, all in Windham County, which means that we have saved 1,437,509 gallons of water from being flushed, which is huge, you know, and just think of what that could be as we scale up, you know, and that's the conversation lots at our board meetings about how do we scale up, you know, how is this going to be taken to more areas, to municipalities, to just get it into saving water for the world, basically. And that's what you guys are about. And that's why it's so exciting to do this summit and have partners all over the world having these conversations. So again, I am very appreciative of what Rich Earth does and what Kim and Abe started, but what all of you people all around the world are working on. So thanks.
Thank you,
Right.
Jim.
Yes,
Thanks for joining us this morning. And your garden, sorry about the parts that got eaten, but it looks really, really wonderful. And
it has been, and it's coming back, so I'm happy.
Great. So a lot of people around Brattleboro have been donating their urine to the project, but also people have started using their urine in their gardens, maybe a little bit more often than they used to. This summer we ran a program, a virtual program like this one called You're in My Garden, You're in My Garden. Julia Kavicki ran this program, and we had over 85 participants, and they were also from around the country and around the world, people learning how to use urine as a fertilizer, asking very poignant questions, sharing their experiences. And so we're making some converts of people who aren't in an area where they can donate to our local farms like we have set up here. So we are going to have a presentation about the Brattleboro, the local project here. Arthur Davis, who's the director of the Urine Nutrient Reclamation Program, will be doing a short presentation and then leading a panel of people from the community who are very involved. So you'll get to see them and hear from them and about how they're involved and why they're involved. And then please feel free to put lots of questions about their involvement into the chat so we can ask people. And without further ado, I'd like to bring Arthur Davis here and start our first session.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Get myself oriented here. So, as Kim mentioned, I run our community scale urine recycling program here in Brattleboro. We call it the Urine Nutrient Reclamation Program, and it's been kind of the Rich Earth Institute flagship program since the Institute first got started back in 2012. And so I'm going to share my screen here. Just present. There we go. And there we go. Is that coming through for everyone? Everyone can see that? I'm going to assume that that's a yes. Yes. Cool. Let's see. So the way that this morning session is going to work is I'm going to do a quick presentation just to kind of get everybody kind kind of on the same page about what we've been up to in Brattleboro here with our community scale collection program. And then we're going to have a panel of folks who are involved in various ways, and have a little bit of a conversation and hear about how different people are involved. And then we'll also and then you can feel free to ask questions in the chat at that point, and we can kind of have a little bit of a conversation until the end of the session. So just to get started, so there we go. So as I said, so urine nutrient reclamation project, and it's community scale urine recycling. So the idea is that we're collecting the urine right here in Brattleboro, and then we're going through all of the various transport treatment steps that we need to do, and we're applying it in our same community. So the idea is that we're doing all of it, keeping it all kind of in a locally based program, which we think is a really great model, especially in this type of community where we both have somewhat of a population center, although as John mentioned earlier, it's a pretty small population center, but also one where there's a lot of agriculture right in our own community. So we have the opportunity as citizens of this region to really be contributing in a significant way to agriculture. Moving forward, if you want more information about things that I'm talking about, or you have further questions about how the program is kind of implemented, on our website you can find this guide that we wrote, which is basically kind of like a big scale, like both the big picture down to like really nitty-gritty details, which kind of talks about our program and how it works on the ground, and a lot about how we evolved from starting until where we are now, and where we'd like to go. And so that's a great resource for those who, at the end of the presentation, you have more questions that than can be answered right here, right now. So the way our program works, we think of it as kind of having 4 steps. We have to collect the urine, we transport it, we treat it, and then we apply it. And so this schematic kind of gives some of the different pathways that the urine takes, and that it's kind of taken over time. For instance, on the transport, we used to work with a partner hauler, an outside company, and since for the last couple of years, we've been able to have our own in-house truck that we can use for transporting. So that's been a change and something that's been really positive. But I'll talk about all these in detail here. So starting with collection, the main way that people donate urine to us is by collecting at their homes and bringing urine to our urine depot, which is here in Brattleboro, right near downtown. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a little key code on the door, and people can just let themselves in and then pump out their containers. So here's a little schematic of the depot, and the way it works, you can see on the right-hand side, there's a little pumping station. You set your jug up on the pump, and then you just pull down this handle, and that actuates a vacuum pump, which vacuums it up into this vacuum chamber, and then it gravity drains into our storage tanks, which then we have some kind of remote monitors, and that allows us to know when it's getting full, and then we can go pump it out. Here's some photographs of that. So here's the pumping station. People put their jugs right up on that blue square, and then you can just put your hand on that handle and depress it down, and just that activates the pump, which is really nice. Means there's no pouring necessary, which is great as a user. I am a user myself of the depot, so we all, I think at various times, all of us have used it a lot, and so we've both been on the operating end, manufacturing end, and the user end, so trying to make it as user-friendly as possible. One thing, we also encourage people to log their donations, and we have a kind of informal competition every year that maybe some of our panelists will talk about later, called the Piss Off competition, which is kind of a way to try to be lighthearted about it, but also get people excited and try to donate as much as possible. And we have some fun awards that we give out in the spring for the previous year's winners. Here's the kind of the back end of the depot, which maybe some folks who are online today who are urine donors maybe even haven't seen back behind the big blue wall. It's kind of all encased in insulation, which we do live in Vermont, and it does freeze in the winter. So you can see on the right-hand side, there's a little thermostat. And we do have the ability to keep the inside from freezing, which is very important when we need to do pump outs in the winter. But this is where all the urine is stored. We have the capacity to hold about 1,500 gallons, which usually lasts us at least a couple months. So we don't have to go there every week to pump it out. Oh, whoopsies. I got myself out of there. Here we go. And we're back. Moving forward, another way that people collect is by collecting at the home. Cool, thank you, Julia. By collecting at their homes in larger containers, and then we come to those homes and we pump out their containers. So here is a home that has a big 250 gallon or about 1,000 liter container, which is kind of buried next to the house. And this is actually fed from a urine diverting toilet in the house. We come with our truck, put our hose in, and we pump it out. Here's another example. This is really what we're trying to move toward, which is this is a house where we just show up and there's a little fitting on the outside of the house, and we just clamp our hose right on there. The container, the storage container is in the basement, which is fed also from a urine diverting dry toilet in the house. And we don't have to go in their house at all. We just come over and it's like we're filling their oil tank or something, but we instead are emptying their urine tank. So that's really what we're trying to move toward with some of the regulatory work that we're doing at the moment, is to make this kind of option more possible in our community. So transport, this is our transport truck. We have a custom built pumping system that we developed. Utilizes vacuum and also a kind of a regular chemical transfer pump. This has been one of the things that we've had the most kind of change and innovation on over the years of the program. And anyway, but fairly self-explanatory. Helps get the urine from point A to point B. Then we bring it to our facility here, which is where I am right now, and we pasteurize the urine, which is part of our permit from the state of Vermont. And our permit requires us to bring all of our urine up to 80 degrees Celsius for 90 seconds. And that's the standard for treating sewage sludge. And the reason for treating it to that standard is because we're concerned about potential fecal matter, or the state is concerned about potential fecal contamination, as are we. So we can have safe handling and know that we're not putting something out into the world that may cause harm to folks. And then on the left, you can see our tanks of treated urine that then we can pump out of and bring to farms. So here's an example of, we have of our monitoring of the pasteurizer. You can see it's those lines right on the top. It's hovering right around 80 degrees Celsius, and it's a flow-through system. So using a heat exchanger, so we're recapturing about 80% of the heat that we are creating in the system, and then as urine comes in, it's held at 80 degrees Celsius until it leaves the system, which takes 90 seconds or longer, and then as it leaves, it's pasteurized. So finally we get to application. So we've pumped urine back up on the truck. This is a picture of some of our interns last summer pumping urine onto the applicator, and this applicator holds about 500 gallons. We have another one that holds less that you'll hear about in a little bit. And so then there's a valve underneath the tank, and that opens, and then the urine gravity drains into this boom that you see behind the tank, and there are holes drilled in the boom, and then it just kind of comes out, as you can see right here. This is our farmer Dean Hamilton applying to hayfields on his farm, and we commercially are mostly using it just on hay crop. We are permitted to use the pasteurized urine on any types of agricultural use, but we've kind of been focusing on hay. One, because it's a little bit, we haven't kind of made the jump towards really dealing with food crops in terms of public perception in the community here, although we've done work kind of on that subject as an institute, but more in a research fashion. And also there's just lots of hayland, and hay is very nitrogen hungry, so it's a great use for the product. So kind of as I talked about a little bit, it really started out as a grassroots initiative. We started back in 2012 with 50 people. We collected about 600 gallons of urine, and in that first year, and now we are 8 years later. We have almost 200 folks who are involved on an active, ongoing basis, and we last year, for the first time, we collected over 10,000 gallons of urine, which was quite exciting, and we're hoping to be keeping to expand the program. So with that, I'm going to unshare my screen again. How do I get back there? How do I get back there? Julia, would you help me? And I'm going to introduce, oh, there we go. Nice. Stop share. There we go. I'm going to introduce our panelists today. I'm really excited to have Nora Gordon here. She is a urine donor in Brattleboro, and she lives just outside of Brattleboro. She is also a middle school teacher, and I think that maybe some of her students are tuning in as well. And Kate Lucy, and one of her little ones, is here as well. She's a longtime urine donor with her rest of her family, and is a multi-time piss-off competition champion, I might add. And Abby Mnookin is also with us. She works with also a lot of environmental organizations in town and social justice organizations in town, including 350 Vermont. And we also have Ra Van Dyke with us, who is going to talk a little bit about some construction and building things that he's been working on at their residence. And then finally, Jay Bailey is here. I see Jay's video is not working, but Jay has been our longest term farmer that we've worked with since the very beginning. And Jay and his wife Janet have just been really kind of some of the driving forces that helped us get started in the first place, and are continuing to apply urine every year to their farm. And just we couldn't have done it without you, Jay. So I'd like to start maybe with everyone just giving a little bit of an introduction, and then kind of talking about just a little bit, what brought you to want to be involved. How are you involved? Just kind of a little explanation of that, and then we'll take it from there. So maybe we'll start with you, Nora.
All right. testing a new mic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So I've been doing it for almost 2 years now in my home in various locations. I use a QB method, just a jug, and then I bring it to the depot, and which is a fun little adventure every week. And I think I was inspired to join this partially because I spend a lot of time in the Buzzards Bay area of Massachusetts in a estuary that isn't in the watershed of the Connecticut, but has similar issues of nitrogen, too much nitrogen coming in from upstream and really affecting the ecosystem. And the grass flats are washing away because of sea level rise and over-fertilization. So that really inspired me to think of a way to not be contributing to that kind of economic or ecological impact. So I think that's really my story.
Sweet. Thanks a bunch, Nora. And let's go to Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate Lucy. I live in Brattleboro. My family has been donating since I think around 2016, because I remember bringing jugs to Kim's garage, enormously pregnant with our daughter, who's now almost 4. So we started donating. I think because it just made a lot of common sense as a way to take care of the soil and stop urinating in potable water. It just makes a lot of sense at so many points in the cycle of waste to not waste our waste. And Arthur, I have to tell you, I know you have a lot of important jobs at Rich Earth, but your semi-annual trip to come pump the 250-gallon thing on the side of our house is the highlight for these guys.
I always enjoy coming to your house because you always want to come watch, which is always, many other people don't necessarily want to do that.
It's a highlight.
All right.
So,
yeah. And Abby. Oh, I think you're still muted, Abby. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I have to join by both computer
and phone
because I'm gonna try this. Are you hearing an echo?
I am hearing an echo. Maybe just use one.
My computer
audio is off.
No.
Right,
Let me just try. Let me
computer.
You are muted.
Maybe that will work.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's great.
Okay. I disconnected my phone, so hopefully, fingers crossed. There are 3 of us in the house right now on Zoom calls, and sometimes that overloads our system.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that this will work. It seems to be working okay. Thanks for bearing with me. My name's Abby Manukin. I use she, her pronouns, and as Arthur mentioned, I also am part of the staff collective with 350 Vermont, which is an organization working for climate justice. I've been a urine donor, I think, since 2014, maybe. I am dating this also, like Kate, by my kids, and my oldest is now 8, and I think she was 2 and was once featured in a Rich Earth newsletter pouring her little potty of pee into the funnel that we were collecting in our 5-gallon jug. And this just made so much intuitive sense to me as soon as I found out about it. I have been one, like many of you, I'm sure, would just like, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down for most of my life. And but that still felt like that wasn't the whole picture. You're still flushing clean water, and you're still wasting all those resources that are in the urine. And
the fossil fuel industry is just so, is wreaking havoc on our planet. So ways that we can decrease our use of fossil fuels, including chemical fertilizers, feels like a really necessary part of healing the planet. So I just am so grateful for the presence of Rich Earth in my community and the fact that I can do this easily locally. I don't have quite a big enough yard, I feel like, to do our family of, to just like pea cycle or use it in our garden with a family of 4. We do that a little bit, but mostly deliver, I think about 170 gallons a year to their depot. And yeah, feel really lucky that it's here, and love the visionary aspect of this spreading throughout the world. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a bunch, Abby. And let's go to Ra.
Hello, everyone. Rob Van Dyke from West Brattleboro. Let's see. I've long been a user of what would be considered alternative waste systems, and that includes, often using urine in the garden and on the fruit bushes, things like that. And Jane and I are still doing that on a new place. And like a lot of other people said, it just seems intuitive to not waste those nutrients, and flush toilets drive me crazy. So it's nice to have, we're building a new place, and I think we're going to go into more detail about it, but we're building systems in composting toilets and urine collection and gray water collection into the new building.
That's so exciting. That's very, very exciting to think about putting these systems in kind of from the ground floor, so to speak, and when we're building new things. Thanks, Ra. And let's finally go to Jay.
Hi there. I assume you can hear
Yes,
me.
we can hear you, Jay.
Great. We got started, we have an organic farm in diversified horse-powered farm in Brattleboro. And Abe was an intern on our farm sometime around 2000. So we we got inoculated in thinking. I mean, we'd been thinking this kind of direction just from our farming, closing nutrient cycles or not wasting resources that's how we succeed. And so to having known Abe and been involved at least in some of his thinking over the years, I think we probably aided and abetted him in just encouraging him to continue, and oh, it's so wonderful to see, to be involved with this kind of thing actually happening, instead of going commercial and big. I mean, it needs to get bigger and it needs to be able to be spread, but I think community based, smaller scale, everywhere is the way to go, and as much as possible to be using the urine as close to where it's generated as possible. Anyway, we're thrilled to still be involved, and it's fabulous. It's just fabulous.
Nice. Well, thank you, Jay. If you're interested in, I just realizing now I should have had some pictures of Jay's farm in the presentation, but if you're interested in seeing some pictures of Jay's farm, there's a number of them on our website, and you can see the pictures of Jay's horses pulling the urine tank behind, which is always one of my favorite days of the year when we get to go out there. Another question I have for folks is, this was kind of my, I don't know, one of my big questions to ask other folks who are involved that aren't necessarily here at Rich Earth every day. Is how do you, as someone who's involved in kind of urine collection and reuse in the Brattleboro area, how do you envision this program evolving in our community? And like, how would you like to see it, kind of evolve, or, what things would you like to kind of have stay the same, and how would you kind of envision it moving forward in this community, and maybe how that would kind of tie into to people in other places. You can kind of take that however you want, and we don't necessarily need to go in an order if any of you want to just jump in with that idea.
We joke about, oops, please don't touch the screen, about how quickly Brattleboro adjusted to having municipal compost, and what a cool idea it would be to see everybody's urine jugs lined up outside their houses in town, to see everybody put out their recycling and put out their pee.
Just as some context for everyone, Brattleboro, a number of years ago, we instituted a curbside pickup for compost, along with recycling and trash. So yeah, that would be pretty neat.
I would say that something that we've talked about at Hilltop, my school, a little bit, but not like too seriously yet, but I think is really worth talking about at larger institutions in our town, is how can we have public spaces that have urine diverting systems available to the public? Because folks doing this right now, we're really like a little bit of a niche, or maybe like a cult, we're kind of doing this out of love. But to get a bigger buy-in and to normalize it more, I think there needs to be a general access to it in a way that doesn't require a lot of work. And so if there were places downtown where you could go and pee and it was just easy, or certainly in schools, to connect it to the general public in that way, I think is really an important next step.
Definitely, yeah. No, that we're slowly working on that. So we'll definitely keep everyone up to date as that stuff kind of keeps moving forward.
I was really appreciative last year when Rich Earth invited local contractors to come and sort of get initiated. And I would love to see more of that. And I know that no plumbers showed up for that, unfortunately, but I think getting plumbers on board is going to be a key part to sort of normalizing this as a building practice.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if you want to take a moment to talk about your own process of designing stuff, and now would be a fine time to, if you want to go into a little more detail about that.
Sure. Well, we had the advantage of starting from scratch on a project here, our own house, and we really wanted to build all of this infrastructure into it. And it turned out to be a fairly complicated plumbing system, but so far it's working well. And so we have a urine diverting composting toilet. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to create a bathroom that looked, for lack of a better word, looked like a normal bathroom, porcelain commode, tile. Like most people don't even know when they walk into the bathroom that it's not a flush toilet. And so, we get to do a little introduction and a little education with anybody who comes. And then the waste gets separated right at the commode. We have a urine. We don't actually have a tank in the basement yet, but we will have we're all plumbed in for a tank. And along with the tank will be what are known as banjo fittings so that Arthur can come with the truck and pump us out. I guess there was one of the photographs you had there was you hooked up to the, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It really was, it was not, it was a bit of a, I said it was a complicated system. It was complicated only because it was the first time. Now that I've done it once, it's like, oh, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Separating the gray water and the urine and the feces.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to tap into that knowledge and get other people on board with that in the future.
That'd be great.
Let's see. Abby or Jay, do you have thoughts on going back to my original question? How you see this evolving?
Well, I would, this is Jay. I would just echo the comments that have been already made about ways to normalize the thought process for most people, and a community-wide collection system that piggybacks on something that's already happening would seem like a good kind of way to go. And just, yes, small scale systems that are local, that are we shouldn't be trying to transport the stuff very far. That's not particularly practical.
Right.
Then
you have
population centers that presents different issues, and
right.
And that's really one of the challenges is figuring out how to make that side of things work, I would think.
Right. Do you have thoughts, Jay, from your perspective as the end user of the urine product?
Again, just keep it local. That is, collection points that are not far from the village or the town or wherever, and then using it as close to that as possible. And we all have to eat, so food has to be made, and the you know, what's wrong with this picture when we are using a lot of resources to grow food, and then we use it and use the energy from that food, and then we're trying to make the end results of that go away? What is wrong? We I mean, I think probably some people think, oh, well, it's dangerous, but we fuel our cars with gasoline. Gasoline is terribly dangerous, but we've figured out how to use it, and we've figured out how to use it safely, and we can do the same here, I think, probably more easily than safely using gasoline.
Fair enough.
So that, for the moment, that would be my thought.
Totally. Let's see. Abby, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I really liked what Kate had to say about just one day envisioning this as like a curbside pickup. I'm also, I'm curious about just continuing that comparison when we were really trying to make this push to municipal compost. The reason why we were able to be successful ultimately, and maybe this is no surprise, is that the economics of it made sense for the community. We have to pay to haul our trash outside of Brattleboro, and so the less they have to pay for that, the better. And keeping our compost, which can be really heavy, on site, we are able to deal with our compost at our transfer station here in Brattleboro instead of shipping that off. That saved the town money. And so that was kind of the way that we like won that, so to speak. And so as much as I like to talk about all of the ecological benefits of this, which are somewhat endless, it feels like appealing to that economic side of things is the way that we're going to get town governments to buy in and make this, broaden the scale of this. And clearly wastewater treatment is a huge expense. And so if there are ways in which that can be minimized, and then it feels like that's just like adding to the reasons to do it.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm just going to take a couple questions that people have been putting up in the chat. One was about the use of 6-month storage of urine as a sanitization measure, and have we considered changing to this to save energy? And we did do some work with storage. With our permit currently is for pasteurization, so that's kind of the method that we are currently approved for with the state of Vermont to do what we do. So that's why we use that, and also it allows us to get urine and then use it fairly quickly as well. So that's been the direction we've gone. Another question someone put in the chat was, do farmers pay for the urine? And currently with our program, that is not the case. So we work with a number of farmers, including Jay, and three other farms around the area, and they none of them pay for the urine that they receive. So, but if you kind of compare our costs to the comparative cost of buying the equivalent amount of fertilizer, the way that the program is run right now, it would be much more expensive than a kind of conventional fertilizer. So it's not like, right now it's not really competitive in terms of cost, and we think that the better economic kind of scenario is on the pollution prevention side. As was mentioned by Nora and David a couple days ago down in the Long Island Sound, the nutrient pollution issues are quite real in the Northeast and all around the United States, as well as places around the world. So, and then Rebecca Nelson asked if we can use Vermont's winters to concentrate large volumes of urine by partial freezing of big tanks. And yeah, Rebecca, we've done a little bit of that. It was kind of on the experimental side of things, so we didn't. We weren't left with a very pure water product at the end, which felt like it wasn't optimized very well. So that was a challenge, but it's definitely. We're definitely moving towards using freeze concentration, and certainly we can take advantage of our winter weather, probably to make that a more energy efficient proposition. Anyway, let's see. Another question I had, someone also asked what kind of urine diverting toilets or urine collection people are using, and I was realizing in my slides I didn't actually have a great picture of our kind of jug and funnel system. So I'm going to just share my screen again and show this one more time, and just because this is fairly, you can kind of see in the collection side, and I don't have, sorry, I'm apologizing, I don't have a great slide of this because this picture is fairly small, but on the upper left you can see this picture of a jug with a funnel mounted on the top, in many ways very similar to what Dylan Randall showed the other day in his presentation from South Africa. But it's basically a funnel mounted on a 5-gallon jug, and we have a ping pong ball that sits in the funnel, which acts kind of as a check valve so that smells can't escape back up as easily, which makes the user experience in the bathroom a little bit easier. I don't know if anyone who uses this system, who's on the call, Nora or Abby or Kate, want to talk at all about using this system and maybe challenges or ways that it's worked really well. I'll unshare my screen again here if I can, but feel free to if you all want to address that.
I think it's been really easy to use in our house. I know a lot of people who have come over to visit. One of my favorite things about having visitors is showing them the bathroom and giving them the primer on how to use the funnel. People who urinate standing have found it to be really fun. I know my little brother, I don't think he would mind me sharing this, but he likes to see if he can spin the ball. So there's kind of a game to it. And I think people who pee sitting have found it surprisingly easy too. People who have all different body shapes and sizes have been able to just kind of squat over it and use it really successfully. So it's much easier than a lot of people think at first. I don't think anything of it, even in the middle of the night anymore.
Yeah, and I'll just say in terms of smell or like the growth factor, which I think initially really kind of was on my mind. I also have a cat box in my bathroom, and the cat box by far smells like way more than the QB. So the technique with the QB is you put like a little bit of white vinegar in before you start using it, and it pickles it and keeps it from, okay, Arthur, you're gonna have to help me with the science here, but I think what it does, it keeps it from turning to ammonia, right? So as long as it's not turning into ammonia in your bathroom, it isn't smelling. And that little ping pong ball valve works like a dream. And then I got one of these little custom made like outfits that goes on the outside of my jug. There's this little blue sleeve, so you can't even see it. And it just looks like part of my bathroom, you know? It's really a very elegant, simple thing that does not impact the bathroom experience at all.
Right. Well, that's great. Great to hear. Let's see, we just have a couple more questions in the chat, and then I think we have to move on to the next thing. But Rebecca also asks if if the funnel is a unisex feature. Kate kind of talked about that a little bit. And how can I get one? Well, if you come to Brattleboro, we can certainly get you one. Also, maybe we could. I've been meaning to make a little video about how we put them together, so I could also do that and send that to you. And then she also asked, does the vinegar have negative implications for the hay crop? And not really. It's being applied in such small volumes compared to the amount of rainwater that the fields are receiving. Someone asked about salinity also earlier, and it's kind of the same thing. Because we're not in an arid climate, and we're receiving so much rain on fields. Well, I mean, this year we actually didn't. We had a fairly dry summer, but there's not a kind of a big pH problem or a problem with salt building up in the soil. Well, let's see. With that, I think that we are just running out of time. If anyone has any like last comments that you want to leave people with, Nora, Kate, Abby, Ra, or Jay, maybe now's the chance, and then we'll move on.
Arthur, I would just add to what you were saying about the salinity of it. In the trials, the early trials that we did on our farm, we tried diluting the urine by a half or even by 2/3, just because we didn't know how it would react, how the fields would react. And we found that even full strength, on sandy soil, the the fields like it very much. And the most amazing thing to me is that the fertilizer, acting as a fertilizer, it has a half-life similar to manure, as opposed to a commercial fertilizer, which you put it on and you get one chance at the plants using that fertilizer. Whereas the half-life means that, 3/4 or more of the effect is seen in the first crop that grows right after it. But then after that, you can still tell where it's been spread. And it just seems wonderful to me that it is working in that good kind of a way, and not just being a volatile flash in the pan kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Well, unless anyone has any last comments.
I'll jump in
Yeah.
for one last thing, also kind of touching on what Kate said, but I've really enjoyed, the lighting is off, sorry, but I've really enjoyed how normalizing this is for my kids, since my younger kid has done this her whole life, and Lucy has done it for most. And so the more of that I feel like that we can do, where this is just what happens, feels really exciting, like a new generation.
Definitely. I think that's been one of the most inspiring things for me, seeing this kind of evolve, even in my, relatively short period of my life being involved in this stuff. So, well, thank you so much to Nora, Kate, Abby, Ra, and Jay. We're really looking forward to the rest of the sessions today. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Kim. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.